What's going on, Patriots? I've been stuck all day long, completely stuck, just sitting here going over headline after headline, spending a lot of time inside Twitter Spaces and learning a lot. I'll be, completely honest. We all have, to be um, very, very careful to make sure that excuse me, I just got a text as I was going live. Um Mara Macy, by the way, who will be on the podcast, um I believe Monday, Monday at 6. Is I believe it's Monday at 6. I'm not sure. So we're working all that out. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with all that stuff. Yeah, but we have a lot going on, and there's a lot to discuss. I mean, there is a trove of consistent documents that are being released about Jeffrey Epstein. I'm sure, unless you've been under a rock, that you've had to have heard or saw something. There are a lot of comments made about Bill Clinton, about how he likes them young, and all these types of things. And then Alan Dershowitz, gotta admit, it does look bad for Dershowitz. It looks extremely bad for Dershowitz. And, the saving grace for him is that the individual who originally gave the claim that Dershowitz had sex with her several times while she was underage, then turned around and said, it's a case of mistaken identity. I'm not sure it was him. I tend to look at those things and I have to question them. Dershowitz represented Jeffrey Epstein. And not only did Dershowitz defend Jeffrey Epstein, Dershowitz got him a pretty sweet plea deal. My understanding is that he went on several talk shows and stated, essentially, we'll release everything, because when everything is released, you'll see that I have done absolutely nothing wrong. However, that is not really what it looks like. It looks like just the opposite is true. And it looks like something very, very wrong was done. So I am going to withhold judgment just for the moment. Just for the moment, I'm going to withhold judgment. I'm going to see what comes of it. And here's the thing, and it's just like most things. It's like the Hunter Biden case. It's like any of it. It seems as though nobody gets punished for anything. Nobody gets in trouble. Nobody gets punished. No one's ever prosecuted. It's like most of us. I would love to see a Biden perp walked in front of the cameras. I mean, it would be. I would absolutely love it. And they're very deserving of it. They're extremely deserving of it. But will it ever happen? Come on. We've had a treasure trove of information and proof on those guys for years and years and years. And now it's came out that the FBI has had upwards of 40 informants over the 15-year period since he was VP back with Obama, who have been reporting these types of schemes that the Bidens were involved in for years and years and years and years. So they had the ability to do something about it, prosecute, more of an investigation, what have you. It could have done any of that. But no, instead, what they chose to do, and this is based on a Fox News report that I heard from Jesse Waters, and it's completely believable. I have no reason not to believe it. He did have sources and he had information prior to reporting it. I just couldn't cite those sources for you right now. However, I have to believe before you come on Fox News and you say such a, absolutely bombshell type thing that you will have done your homework. So I'm just going to say I trust the report. And the report that he gave stated that the FBI, instead of arresting him, blackmailed him. And they've been blackmailing him to this day. And a lot of that is the reason why you see the DOJ and others weaponized against Trump, and others, right? Weaponized against him. DAs across Democrat-ran cities are doing absolutely, AGs rather, doing absolutely asinine things. I mean, Letitia James is at the absolute worst. I mean, she's the definition of what communism would look like in the United States. They would be investigating people in search of a crime. They would start with the individual, start with the fact they don't like you, don't like your political opinions, don't like how you dress, don't like how you sound, don't like anything about you, whatever it is. And that's enough to figure out, hey, go check into this guy. Let's find something on him so we can get rid of him. That's what they do. This is what you're watching. This is what I'm watching with Trump. And this is why we tell people constantly, it's not just Trump that you need to be concerned about. Trump represents you in that position, right? He represents you. If they're going to do it to him, if they can do it to him, they can do it to you. So that should supersede any feelings you have about Trump, any ill will you may have about Trump. That should not matter. That should not matter. I mean, that is absolutely asinine to matter at this point. You need to be more concerned with the fact that someone with as much resources, who lives as much in the public eye as Trump, who was the president of the United States, has been able to be attacked and have the DOJ weaponized against him. You've seen a litany of AGs from New York and Atlanta and other places go out of their way, absolutely out of their way, to create ways to go after Trump in order to do what? To throw him off the ballot. And then it didn't work. It didn't work. So what do? Real easy. This is what they do. This is what they do, and it didn't work. They just throw him off the ballot. Just plain and simple. We couldn't do it by indicting him. We couldn't do it by any of the other dirty means in which we tried. So what do? You just take him off. You make up a reason. Article 3 of the 14th Amendment, it was broken. He breached it. Well, how? Well, there's no conviction necessary. Well, if there's no conviction necessary, then the only thing necessary for you to throw someone off of the ballot is your say-so then. Because if no one has to be found guilty of the thing that you're throwing them off the ballot for, then where's the criteria that person has to meet in order to be thrown off the ballot? Just because I feel like it or I think it? That's exactly what's going on. And I happen to be on, I'm a bit of a troll myself. I'm not going to lie. I'll go on some lefty pages, and maybe some lives and things like that. And spaces and things like that, and kind of listen, TikTok, whatever, and sit there and listen. And it's really funny. It's like watching a brain dead circus, like people that are completely brainwashed, that are participating in an echo chamber of delusions and lies. It's essentially what they are. Oh, well, you know what I mean. Yeah. It's a little fun to sit there and play with them, Christy. It's really, really fun to sit there and play with these people, because it's kind of easy. And so I sometimes you go into these situations on a TikTok or Spaces or something like that, and you kind of feel like you're being a bully. I mean, it's just my nature. I'm not a mean person. I'm really not a mean person, but what I am is a guy who really doesn't care so much about your feelings in as much as I do the truth. And I don't believe in helping other people to the detriment of myself. And I also apply that to my country, meaning I don't want to see us be over sympathetic or over empathetic to the needs of people in other countries, their asylum seeking, whatever the case may be, even though I completely believe they've bastardized the system and they're taking advantage of it, and we are going to suffer as a result. So I don't believe that we should be helping other countries and being over, and they're using our compassion, they're using our sympathy, and well, at least they're saying, if you don't believe that we should be doing this, you're just a cruel person. You're just an unsympathetic person. You have no empathy. You don't care. Well, we do care. That's not the issue. The issue is us helping you hurts us. It's that simple. That simple. I would not feed anyone if that food is taken out of the mouths of my children. And that doesn't make me cruel. That makes me a responsible individual, right? It means I got my priorities right. And this is exactly why the left gets so angry at the idea of America first. They literally, all the way back to Charles Lindbergh, who had this same notion of America first, got called a Nazi back then. You think that this, what's happening now, what's culminated now in the United States, is new? No, they've been taking baby steps toward this moment right now for decades. For decades, they've been putting people in place, educating other people, and running them up the ranks through their little poison ivy colleges, and they've been doing this forever. And they finally got enough people in enough places to be able to move forward with whatever agenda it is that they have. But it's very plain to see when you look at what's going on in the news, when you're reading the headlines, and you know you've taken the time to study, you know what's happening. You're not brain dead. You're not ignorant. So you can see the fact that this administration, and I'm not talking about the right-left paradigm, but this administration, along with several people on the right, seem to be working in an effort, a concerted effort, against their own countrymen, against their own people. And it's done by way of overspending, which is the biggest security issue that we have here right now. The biggest threat to our sovereignty in the United States is our spending. When we go over budget, if you and I have a credit card, if you and I have a budget, whatever it is, we can't overspend on ours, and we can't just raise our credit every damn time we can't pay something, no matter what it is. And they shouldn't be able to do it either. So these consistent consistent assemblies, when they get together to vote on raising the debt ceiling, these things need to stop. They absolutely need to stop. And this is a big test for Mike Johnson in the position that he's in right now, because the jury is out on Mike. It's a little bit out on Mike because he's already done some questionable things. I'm waiting right now because it's a little early. I'm not going to just jump right in and start tearing him down. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to withhold my opinion, but there were things that he's done already at this point, which I completely disagreed with. Based on the same reasons why we got rid of McCarthy before he came in. I do not believe that he should have put forth the spending bill that he put forth. I absolutely don't think that he should have did that. This is essentially exactly what we did, what we got rid of Kevin McCarthy for. Yeah, you're right. And just responding to Kristen here, we have been the sugar daddy of the world for far too long, far too long. And this is what I mean. We can't help other people to the detriment of our own. We just can't do it. And that has to be understood. And this is why the left consistently wants to call us cruel. Well, we're cruel, so bring all these immigrants in and help them. And then you take them to New York. Now, even the New York mayor, definitely a Democrat, definitely very far left guy, even Fetterman, right? With his own, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to be cruel. Even Fetterman is making open statements about anyone who doesn't see that we have a crisis at the border is just lying. He says that openly. Many people are waking up to the fact that there is a problem. What was like 10 years ago, we knew we had about 22 million undocumented people in the United States. 22 years ago. 10 years ago. Apologize. 22 million undocumented aliens in the United States of America. How many do you think are here now? No, this is not a matter of what do you call people looking for true asylum, right? Do you think the millions that have came here since Biden has been in office, undoing all of the Trump era policies, are people that truly need asylum? No, they don't do they don't have the necessary, they don't meet the necessary criteria to prove that maybe their lives were at risk where they were from, whatever their country of origin is. They just don't have that. And the only thing necessary to have to prove their need for asylum is a simple letter from a relative. That's it. That's all they have to have to prove their asylum case. It's not anything, any kind of government paperwork, and no trial or whatever. There's no real criteria. Nothing is dug into to see, is your story real? Do you really need asylum? And if even if you did need asylum to come into the United States, and for these people to be given court dates that are 7, 8, 9 years into the future before they get to see a judge, that is not going to work. And let me tell you why. Because 7, 8, 9 years from now, they're going to have 3 or 4 children in the United States. And then when you try to remove, they're going to say, "Oh, you can't do that. It's cruel. They have a family." It's absolutely, it'll hurt your head. It'll hurt your head, because when you come across the border illegally, and it doesn't matter if you have a child on this side of the border. And this was discussed openly in debates. I love Vivek's response to this, because it's absolutely real. And Tim Scott's was absolutely BS. You are not subject. You are not a subject of the United States. You are here illegally. Therefore, your child is not a U.S. citizen just because you illegally entered the country and had a child here. So I think that we definitely need to clear that situation up. That needs to go to the Supreme Court. That needs to go to the Supreme Court. The precedent has to be set. The law has to be made clear that this is not the way this is meant to be. So beyond that, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of this inter-party espionage, is so I call it. And the inter-party espionage that I'm referring to are people that are pretending, and there's no other word. They're acting as if, hey, I am a Republican and I care, and I'm a big Trumper, and I'm a MAGA country type of person. All these types of things, but the thing is that they're not. They're really not. I just experienced this not even probably maybe 20 minutes ago, as I was in a live with future Congressman Nate Kane, Maura Macy, and others, as one of those trolls came in there, and the individual started attacking Nate Kane, continually asking questions about whether or not he was who he said he was, or if he did who he said he did, based on whether or not he knew somebody. It was an amazing onslaught of just nonsensical questions, just meant to try to look like she was discrediting him, but the questions were nonsense. But a very quick peek at her Twitter profile proved one thing. She said the same thing about General Flynn, and trying to make General Flynn out to be an enemy of Trump based on some comment that he made years ago, that she's kind of using, manipulating the content more or less to make it look like he is someone to whom he's not. And I've had conversations with General Flynn. The guy is solid. He's 100% solid. He was the only person that Obama went to Trump for, and he goes to Trump and he says, Yeah, everyone else you can keep. He says, but get rid of Flynn. And the reason why, because Flynn knew where the bodies were buried. Flynn knew what was going on more so than anybody else. So for her to go after Flynn that way, let me know one thing. You're full of it. You're full of it. And to try to turn all the people that are seemingly MAGA people, pro-Trump people, and try to attack them one by one and act as if you're exposing something about them and how that they are anti-Trump tells me that you're full of it. Everyone can see what you're doing. You know, you try that on the left. It actually might work. But over here, people do their research. Everyone in that chat room, nobody fell for your BS. Nobody in that spaces fell for that. Not one person. We immediately went and looked at who you were. We immediately looked at the things that you said. And you have no credibility whatsoever. You just go after people that are consider themselves conservative. Every single one. I seen all the posts on this chick's page. I tell you this much. I would say her name, but I don't think that it would help, right? I don't think it serves my purpose. I will keep her so anonymous. It's not funny because I don't believe that she deserves the attention. But yeah, I mean, there are a couple of scenarios that I'm going to just digress back to the immigration issue because there were some scenarios discussed that I want to put out there. I want to put them out there. And I said how many people were here 10 years ago, 22 million undocumented people. Those same 22 million people, I don't know if that's doubled, if we got 30. We don't know the real number. That's just the reality. We don't know the real number. But what you need to do at some point is figure that out. And you need to know who's here because it's dangerous not to know who's in your country. Trump promises the biggest mass deportation in history when he gets elected, when he takes the oath of office, that he promises the biggest mass deportation in history. All right, so let's see what that looks like. What does that look like when you're talking about millions of people? Millions. There are more people here illegally than there are some people in an entire state. Wrap your mind around that. We're going to have to build camps. We're going to have to put people in those camps, and we're going to have to transferring them out to the country of their origin. We're going to have to do it in an orderly manner. But in the meantime, what's going to happen is they're going to demonize us. They're going to consider what we're doing is putting people in concentration camps. They're going to say that look what the right's doing. We told you, look at who they are. They're cruel. They're putting people in camps. They're Nazis. They're this, they're that. Untrue. Completely untrue. But this is how they're going to spin it. They're great at the spin. Right? What does Bongino call it? The dipsy do flipperoo or something like that. But that's exactly right. They are very much they pretend to be compassionate, for the cameras. They pretend for you and me. But the reality of it is that they don't care. They don't care about anything else except one thing. They care about power. That's what it is. It's what it's all about. It's what it's always been about. It's what it will always be about it's what it will always be about for the left. It will be about power. So the idea is, and we're gonna delve a little bit into what people think, and it's gonna sound conspiratorial when it comes to the Epstein list. We get there too, but What does that look like? You got people in camps. You're sending them back to the tunes of millions to their country of origin. And Tim Pool on Tim Cast had a very interesting take on this situation. And he said at that point, the left would try a rallying call in which they would call for those being rounded up to fight back against the Nazis, meaning you and I and the people on the right, Americans, real Americans, because you're either a Democrat or American. That's the way I see it now, because that's my opinion. You can have your own if you have your own, but I see the Democrat Party like AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Hakeem Jeffries, Cory Booker, all belonging to groups like the DSA. And if you follow if you know who the DSA is, they are a Democratic Socialist Party, right? That's what they are, and they did a what was it? It was a pro-Hamas rally in New York. New York Post actually went to this pro-Hamas rally where they said they had people dressing up like Hamas at the rally. And this is the same organization. We have elected officials. They belong to this organization. So how is it that we have elected officials in Washington who belong to a group who holds rallies praising people that have been designated a terrorist group? And how do you do that and still hold political office? How do you do that and the worst you get is censured, like Rashida Tlaib? You got censured. So what? So what? She still holds office. She still occupies that chair. No, it's time to start fighting fire with fire. We need to start impeaching people. We need to start expelling people. There is a code of honor and ethics that you must follow when you are an elected official with that much responsibility and in that high office. You should be above reproach. You should not be involved with a group who is calling for the extermination of an entire race of people. Openly anti-Semitic, for some reason, is not even seen as racism anymore. But keep in mind, I don't differentiate from Hamas from the general population of Palestine. I don't truly differentiate the Palestinians from Hamas. Keep in mind, the Palestinians were the one who spit on the girl who was raped and dragged through the streets dead. The Palestinians were the same ones who jumped up and down and cheered and clapped and laughed when after the towers fell in 9/11. They put Hamas in power, and that's where they are, and that's where they stay. And there are also Palestinians that were involved on October the 7th, not just Hamas. So they're not without their own culpability. And those people, also train their children to hate Jews from a very young age. They're not innocent folks. They've also turned down statehood 7 times, refused to come to the table to talk about any type of peace with Israel. And yet people keep talking about the Palestinians as if it's a place. Well, where's Palestine? That's my question. If you think that, where's Palestine then? Point it out. People don't know the history. They don't know the real history. And that's a problem, because when their ignorance is marching up and down the streets in New York and in London and in LA and in all over the place, their ignorance, because they don't know, they have no clue. There was a young girl in a video that was passed around not long ago, coloring on the ground with a big piece of chalk and her own diluted sense of activism, from the river to the sea. So guy with a camera walks up recording her and very politely asks her which river and which sea. And she didn't know. She had no idea what she was sitting there advocating for. She had no concept of the history behind it or what it meant, because they're deluded. They're ignorant. and they really need to be educated. So it's funny how the gaslighting works. Remember, Hillary was the one that said that we need to be re-educated. Everybody remember that? The deplorables, we need to be re-educated. It's amazing to me that we have fallen so far so fast. How we got this far this fast is beyond me. I don't understand it. I don't understand how we went from the greatest generation to a couple of generations later, just not even, but a very few. And we've gotten to this point. I asked myself, what changed from then until now? What was the difference? So let's talk about it. That happened in the 40s. The 50s were okay. Not too much problem in the 50s. Culturally, societally. You know, the age of Leave It to Beaver and those types of things, you know. Andy Griffith Show, that's kind of, you know, we still had morals, we still had a good culture, we still had a lot of things here, very respectful generations and things. You're always going to have ignorant people, that you're not going to get rid of that, but the culture wasn't as sick as it is now. What happened? The 60s. That's where it starts for me. It starts with the movement to remove standards, the movement to remove truth and replace it with relativity, meaning your truth is your truth, my truth is my truth, and there is no absolute truth. And that was the hippie movement. I mean, that whole thing that started in Berkeley, which was essentially soft socialism, communism, Marxism, and spread across the United States. You're looking at the end result of that right now. When you couple that with mass immigration, it's not that you shouldn't have immigration, because I completely believe that we should have immigration. However, we should have legal immigration, and the people coming here should be made to add value, not to sponge off of the system. So you need to have time to acclimate to your surroundings, to your new country of origin. You should learn their heritage, their ways, their culture, their history, so you can function in their society. That's not the way it's done anymore. It's too much, too fast, and as a result, what's going to happen, it's going to hit our education system, because when all their kids start going to our schools, the teachers are not going to know how to teach these people. They don't speak their language, or maybe they have too many kids that are of different language speaking areas. I mean, this doesn't just apply to Spanish. I mean, we've had people come here from Mexico, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Haiti, you name it, all over the place, all over the place. Now, I know out here they have a very terrible practice in our school system of standing up and speaking whatever the lesson plan may be in two languages. They say it first in English, and then they say the same thing again in Spanish. So they take twice as long to teach half as much as a result. This should not happen, because it hurts us, it slows us down. Meanwhile, the kids over in China are studying their asses off. They're doing calculus in the 5th grade and 6th grade. Our kids, this is by design, folks. Why do you think China funds the education system here in the United States? MIT, University of Champaign, Illinois. They also gave money to UC Berkeley. All three of these schools were asked independently of each other why they received that money, and what did they do upon receiving that money. What did they give in return? No comment. That's what they gave in return. They gave no comment. We're going to find out, and we're going to find out when Trump gets in office, which is an inevitability. It's an inevitability at this point. And I just can't wait. I can't wait. That's why it doesn't even bother me when all these people are talking their mess about Trump. It doesn't bother me. Why doesn't it bother me? Because they lose. That's what I keep telling them all the time. Whenever you get the trolls on your page and you get the left-wing trolls on your page, it's kind of funny because no matter what they say, it doesn't matter. They're going to lose. They always lose. They lose at everything, which is why they find it necessary to cheat when possible. But they lose. They are wrong about everything. They lose everything. And they tend to do a lot of things that are looked upon, especially by folks like me and people like me, as un-American. 100% un-American. So I to quote Joe Rogan, I think that although we missed the red wave the first time, a year back or so, I think this coming election year is going to be a wave. And to quote him, their door is shining. He said it's going to be like the elevator doors opening on The Shining. I'm telling you, Trump he's got 25% of the black vote. He's got one of the BLM founders and many other people now following him and supporting J6 prisoners. It's changing. Why do you think they're importing new voters? Why do you think they're importing a new base? They have no option but to do that. No option. Because they've already kicked people out of housing projects in Chicago and put illegal immigrants in their place. They kicked out veterans out of the hotels in New York. The veterans are paying $90 a night to the hotel in New York. Some government organization was paying that for them. However, some different government organization came along and offered the hotel $180 per night to house the immigrants in that same hotel. And guess what happened? They asked the veterans to get out of the hotel. They gave them a time to leave. If you'll betray the people who fought and bled for your country, you'll betray anyone. If you will kick your own people out of housing projects meant for them and rush illegal immigrants to the front of the line, because when our people apply for housing and benefits and these types of things, rental assistance, they don't just get it. They go on a list and they wait a very long time to be able to get those things. The illegal immigrants got rushed to the top of the list. People got removed or told they couldn't move, to be more accurate, into a housing project that they then gave to immigrants to move into. So the people of Chicago are pissed. And now I remember one lady saying that, yeah, we got up to come get the free turkeys. This was around Thanksgiving. They said they were here since 5:00 in the morning. Then they didn't give the turkeys out until 10. So we came at 9:30. All the turkeys were gone. They got to step their game up a little bit. They're dealing with these Mexicans that are used to getting up early. They're like, we can't do all that. We're just used to showing up and getting our free and just going on our way. But man, we're going to have to change some things around here. They didn't like it. But this is the thing. This is the problem. It wasn't a little bit of integration. It wasn't a family that moved into the block. It was thousands and thousands of people that just got pushed into their community all at once. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen? They're going to immediately move in there. And because there are so many of them that maybe don't speak English, but they all speak each other's language, and they're in those communities, that community, that the heritage, the history, everything about that community just got erased. That quick, got erased. Because they're not coming there to acclimate and be American. They're just coming here. On some level, I'm going to make a blanket statement about the fact that if any one of us were in a third world country, I'd want to live here too. That's without a doubt. But there is a process and procedure for doing so. And there are people in other countries that wait longer than a decade. And I know at least two of them personally. that waited a very long time to get here and had to go through a lot of processes in order to make that happen. You know how damn pissed they are to know that they could have just went to Mexico, ran across the border, and cut to the front of the line and didn't have to wait? And they add value. They came here and went to work. Like, not like they went to work. These people are in corporations and things. They're doing something. They're actually adding value to the country, not just their house. But, you know, to the left, that sounds cruel. No, far be it from me to not honor their diversity, equity, and be more inclusive. Nor will I ever. Merit and the rule of law. You either earn it or you do it legally. That's how this country works. This is how this country has always worked. This is how the country should work. What you're doing now is you're watching the government forego its own laws and put their own people on the back burner. And they're saying, if we try to call them out on their BS, we're just cruel. We're just being unsympathetic. How can you tell me that you don't want these people to come here? They just want a better life. They want a better life. What about our people? What about our homeless? What about our, just talked about our homeless vets. What about those guys? Do you think that it's fair that someone goes to war for this country, serves their country, comes back to be thrown out of a hotel and put on the street? Do you think it's fair that guy doesn't have a home to go to? Meanwhile, you're spending billions and billions of dollars on people that are not your responsibility. And it's either by having them come into the United States and be here, or sending that money over to every adversarial country in this world who can't stand the guts of the United States of America. And becoming we literally hand out welfare checks to all the stands. And they hate us. They hate us. But we pay them. Ukraine, the most corrupt country. One of the most absolute corrupt countries that there is, period. Why are we funding this NATO proxy war? Why? Because we're defending democracy. That's what we're told, right? We're defending democracy. Well, if we're defending democracy, then tell me why it is that Zelensky's not holding elections. Where's the democracy in that? Where's the democracy in canceling elections? Where's the democracy of taking away a person's personal way to which they want to worship God and telling them they have to do it in this prescribed manner, which is exactly what he did. He also, Ukraine now has a state-ran media. They just can't report the news they want to report. Sound like any other country you know? Maybe the one they're at war with? Sound a little Russian to you? Because it is. You point out the difference between Putin and Zelensky. Tell me what it is. Well, Zelensky may be able to tell a joke. I don't think Putin can do that. Putin's kind of a serious guy. But it goes further than that. When you look into Zelensky's character, he's big time buddies with a guy who owned the network that he worked for as a comedian when he was in television. A guy by the name of Igor Kolomoisky. Igor Kolomoisky, this same guy owned Burisma Holdings. He owned Privat Bank. Privat Bank is where a lot of those SAR reports originated that went into the Biden's accounts. This is the guy that bankrolled Zelensky's campaign, got him elected. It was Zelensky's buddy. That same gangster was the same one you heard Biden talk to Poroshenko on the phone with when he made that veiled threat. If you don't close the Privat Bank, well, your security, your financial security, and your physical security is going to be at risk. That's what he said. That's exactly what he said on the phone call. He also told him if he didn't do it, that the IMF loan would not come forward. Once again, threatening him with the IMF loan for the second time. This is not the same time. There are two different times that conversation took place. You saw it in the one where he's sitting next to Michael Carpenter in that video, the famous video where he goes, "Son of a bitch, they fired the prosecutor." Everyone saw that. It's not the only time it happened. So, I mean, hell of a quid pro quo, right? That's what they went after Trump for. Quid pro quo, supposedly. Let me break down the reality of that situation and what really took place for you. Trump is on the phone call with him. He asked him about the corruption. The corruption that he asked him about had to do with his buddy. He felt very uncomfortable when he did it. So what did he do? But he got on the phone and let these guys know that, oh shit, I'm in trouble because now Trump has just asked me to look into the very guy who subsidized my campaign, my buddy, and I don't know what to do because I'm afraid, like Joe Biden did previously to Poroshenko, that Trump will withhold the money that he was going to give our country for security. And then next thing you know, there was a whistleblower. Somebody came forward and said there was the phone call there was something wrong with the phone call. There was nothing wrong with the phone call. Transcripts are out right now. For my money, I know that they threw someone else under the bus, but for my money, that originated with Zelensky because he was between a rock and a hard place. And that's exactly what I think took place there. So, guys, I just wanted to get on, do this. I will be doing it more often. I'll be streaming at the same time that I stream on X. I'll be streaming on YouTube. I will be streaming also on the Rumble channel at rumble.com/C/the Patriots Prayer. You can find all those links and more on my Rumble page at the Patriots Pray and on Facebook at facebook.com/the Patriots Prayer. The Patriots Prayer podcast now because I had to change the name of the page and create a duplicate because Facebook saw fit to demonetize my page. And not only did they see fit to demonetize my page, when I was at damn near over 1 million person reach and they saw it was taken off and they immediately demonetized my page. Not even probably a day or so after they monetized my page. And so they limited the reach of my page in the process, claiming misinformation. However, it wasn't misinformation. When I filed appeal with Facebook, they had to admit that the charges were bogus, and I actually won the appeal. The problem is that in winning the appeal doesn't take off the restrictions or put your reach back to where it was after they limited you. They told me in order to do that, the only way to do that would be to create another page. And they never restored my ability to advertise on Facebook. Blessing and a curse, though, because I spend more time on X where the conversation truly is. And it's a truly First Amendment platform. And if you're catching this on Facebook, get the hell off of there. I mean, I'm there a little bit just because I cross post because I know people are there. But come on. Like, if you're primarily on Facebook, you need to get the hell off of there, and YouTube as well. You know, come over to Rumble where people are not told what they can say, where you're not subject to these fact checkers who don't have to answer to anybody, and these people that willingly engage in going after people with a specific ideology. I'll give you an example. I was on a live on a TikTok platform, and the guy was talking about election integrity, and so he espoused some viewpoint or another that was completely false. So when I alerted him as to how ballot harvesting works and what happened in the past with ballot harvesting and the true implications of what true the vote meant in 2000 mules, I was immediately banned and barred for misinformation. Now, I just espoused a bunch of facts. I told him exactly what was in the documentary. We were discussing it, and next thing you know, I was banned. They can only do that, and they can only get away with that for one reason. Prop 230 gives them the ability to use those platforms as they will and remove people at their own will, and they have to answer to no one in doing it. The Fifth District Court found that the Biden administration violated the First Amendment rights of the people of America by taking the actions that he took with Twitter. However, that's fine and dandy that you feel that way. Well, why did you stop at the Biden administration and not continue on to the social media companies that do it on a daily? Because even though you figure that the Biden administration did that, no consequences were rendered. None. And now what happens when Facebook or any of the social media companies decide that they would want to continue that practice internally? Nothing, because they're protected by Prop 230. The law was written back when they had message boards, and people that owned those or ran those message boards didn't want to be sued. So if we don't do something to fix Prop 230, Section 230, we're never going to get back to a truly First Amendment free speech America that we're all told is supposed to exist. That's why what Elon Musk did was historical. It was epic and disrupted their plans. And he's going to continue to. I can tell this guy's a maverick. He doesn't give a damn. If anyone caught the exchange he had the other day with Mark Cuban, it was classic. They were arguing over DEI. And so Elon Musk came back, and I'm going to paraphrase. He says, okay, so if you believe in all this diversity, equity, and inclusion to that level, then where is the short Asian lady on the Mavericks? Classic mic drop moment. I mean, it's a perfect example of what I mean. DEI hasn't worked in the United States. Look at the Claudine Gay situation. Look at the Sam whatever his name is that looks like an evil Lex Luthor mixed with Matt Damon stealing a luggage from airports. So he was in charge of where the nuclear waste or something to that. This is nuts. What's the other one that got Admiral Rachel Levine? Kills me to say Rachel. I know this is, I hurt inside for all the women that are out there that have military careers that bust their humps to try to climb that ladder, to try to get those, that next pin, that next bar. And here comes, and I'll tell you this, I state the things that I'm stating right now, because I'm streaming this on YouTube and others. And I know that some people may take offense at what I'm saying, but I state what I'm saying as a Christian, as a God-fearing man who believes word for word, literally what is written in that Bible. So in as much as you are able to believe whatever it is you believe in whatever psychology or whatever it is that you adhere to, meaning if you think you are, then you are type of psychology. If that's you, I disagree with you, but in as much as I disagree with you, I'll never take away your right to say what you want to say on the subject. So as a Christian, I do not believe that a man can be a woman, nor that a man should even want to be a woman. And I don't believe that Rachel Levine should have had 4 bars pinned on her as an admiral, or 4 stars or whatever, 4 stars pinned on her as an admiral. And I would say her only in the aspect of the way they say it, not in the way that I feel. I would never refer to a him as a her. And it's not because I don't respect who you are. It's because, one, I'm not going to let you tell me what reality is and then legislate my tongue. That's not going to happen. And 2, you want me to talk that is oppression, because in doing that, you want me to forego my own beliefs and adopt yours, even though that my belief tells me that I can't do that. That thing to which you're asking me to do, I can't do if I truly believe what I believe. But that's ignored. That's ignored because they make it out like we're doing those things to be cruel. Well, no, we have our own set of beliefs. This is why we do them, because we have our own set of beliefs, and yet they act like we're not allowed to. They act like we're not allowed to. Yeah, they do hate when you hit them with logic like that, because this is exactly what happens whenever liberals are confronted with the truth. One, they immediately go into a corner and they continue to lie. They lie, and or they change reality to try to make their point. Well, I remember. Okay, so here's another situation. It was a lady, and this will be my last one. This lady in a video, and she's confronted by a man. She's very pro-choice, obviously, and the man is sitting there, and he's having a discourse with her openly, and she says, "Let me finish." And okay, just calmly let her talk. And she says, "Women are going to do this whether they're legal or not. So why wouldn't you want them to do it in a safe way?" Because he said, because there is no such thing as a safe abortion. And she said, "Yes, there is." He says, "There's not, because in every single instance, a baby dies." And she says, "Nobody cares about the baby." You just told us who you are. Those who don't have sympathy should not be shown sympathy. That's simple. So these people used abortion as birth control far too long, in my opinion. In my opinion, and it is my belief as a Christian. The fact that you haven't looked the baby in the eye that he's not born makes it no less a baby. I believe life begins at conception, and I have every right to be entitled to that belief, even though in their circles it seems to be a little divisive. No, it's not. It's only divisive when a conservative speaks anyway, because it counters the non-logic that comes from the left. And they really have no answer for it in most cases. And that's the reason why they get mad. And that's the reason why they try to say that we're being cruel. It's not that we're being cruel. It's because we hit them with the fact and they get backed into a corner and they have no answer for it. So they get in their feelings. And I absolutely love it. I love it. Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, it is a matter of self-respect. It's a matter of you doing what you're supposed to. It's a matter of morality. It's that simple. Morality. Everything has to stop being so relative, right? Right and wrong are not relative. They're not. There are societal right and wrongs. There are common threads of right and wrongs that are not just a part of a faith or a religion that can be argued, but there are things societally that are just wrong. Stealing, killing. There are a bunch of different things that we should all be able to agree on. But it seems to me now criminals are the new victims, and there's an excuse for why anybody does anything, and nobody wants to do anything about it unless they seem cruel. They don't even want to go after and convict anyone of the crimes committed in these looting situations or these teen mobs that have taken over Chicago time and time again. And the mayor doesn't even like when people call them little thugs, which is what they are. It's exactly what they are. And when you don't prosecute crime, all you do is enable the criminal. So, folks, this year is the year that things have to change. But there's so much up in the air of things that could absolutely go wrong prior to any election ever taking place. We're on the precipice of major, major problems in the case of Russia and Ukraine, Taiwan and China. And then you have Kim Jong-un up there saying to get ready for war as well. There are a lot of issues up in the air, and hopefully that our country doesn't get sucked into some kind of a war prior to then, and Biden doesn't try to do exactly what Zelensky has already done and say, because we're at war, I want to cancel elections. I know people have hypothesized that about Trump. They hypothesized it about Obama as well as Bush, of those three doing that. But this is the first time, I believe, with this kind of war, looming, that it's actually possible. So, folks, remember to pray about those types of things. We really do need it. Our world is in a deep mess right now, and we need to do everything we can to pull it out. And the number one thing you can do is vote. The number one thing you can do is educate people. The number one thing you can do is go get involved in your community, find out who your congressmen and senators are, write letters, make phone calls, let them know that you're watching, let them know that you're going to hold them accountable. And as usual, the silent majority, you need to stop being silent and stand your ground. We'll see you next time on the Patriots Prayer Podcast. You guys have a great night and have a great weekend. And don't forget, we'll see you Monday. I'm going to be doing a live with Skin in the Game, both Native Patriot and Anthony Chavez. Myself, we're going to be doing this live to kind of give people the Native American perspective. And it's a lot different than the one that the media wants you to believe that we have. It's a lot different than what the media wants you to believe we have. So I'm not going to put too much of a on that, but just know that we're going to talk about most of all the issues that we spoke about tonight and many more that affect the Native community. We're going to talk about the Redskins. We're going to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world, and we're going to talk about it through a Native lens. So please do join us. Go to the X page at the Patriots Pray and know that's where it's going to be streaming exclusively on Monday at 6 p.m. Guys, you have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon.